So I just watched Infinity Train. Why? Because David Zaslav is a despicable, ignorant, and downright greedy cunt. Oh hi! Welcome to So I Just Watched, the show whose host brought it back, just so I could stick two middle fingers up at the Warner Bros. Discovery merger that gutted the animation library, all because David Zaslav does not like inclusivity and diversity, and wants to trash it all because of a tax break. Yeah, this guy can suck and blow all of the chunks at the same time because he's both. Anyway, series creator Owen Dennis said that if you wanted to watch Infinity Train, he gave you permission to sail the cyber seas and watch it however which way you could. And I obliged because this video needed to be made. So let's look at Infinity Train and see why it took me until now to actually look at it. Indeed, because the show's fantastic 2016 pilot short highlighted the incredible potential the concept had from the start. The elaborate scope of a train where each car contains different universes and ominous enemies and puzzles within, all explored by a frightened teenager wanting to get off the damn thing and a bipolar robot pal at her side meeting a kingdom of dogs along the way. What's not to like? It's no wonder then that it exploded in popularity upon its upload to Cartoon Network's YouTube channel. Excitement then filled the air once a full-length series was greenlit off of that response. 3 years later, it arrived, but sadly with such little aplomb, as it was limited to airing as a double bill on Saturday evenings before Adult Swim started. It was never screened on Cartoon Network here in the UK, as far as I'm aware, and despite glowing critical praise, it was carted off to HBO Max after just 2 seasons, where it would last for 2 more, before being unceremoniously cancelled in 2021, a year after Cartoon Network laid off the show's staff. As long as it could remain visible though, fans' hopes remained high that it could return in the future. But it's now been expunged. Even the pilot is gone from YouTube, where it survives through re-uploading by loyal fans whose contribution ensures it was represented in this introductory segment at all. I prefer to watch shows legally wherever possible, but especially with this show, that courtesy was taken out of my hands a long time ago. The fact that it is now out of so many others' hands as well means I will gladly take my turn in ensuring this show, even in the guise of a 4-episode review format, won't be erased by the whims of a morally bankrupt fuck trumpet. Will Infinity Train live up to the weighty expectations garnered for it over the years, or will it sink like a stone? Let's find out. The episode titles give little away, except for one thing: a rough idea of what is contained within a cart of the eponymous train that Tulip has to venture through. It's about as easy to decipher as this show gets, which is something that premiere episode The Grid Car takes full advantage of in its opening few minutes, doing an incredible job of wielding an emotionally mature sledgehammer to the viewer's expectations, by supplying a reason as to how she got on the train in the first place. Paired with an eerie feeling of unease off the bat, Tulip's family life is fractured and shows the outcome of her parents' divorce in one of the more menial ways, but very important to her to set up her temperament pretty much for the rest of the ride. She sought an escape to her game design camp and found herself aboard the mysterious train, hoping that it would get her there. Because yes, these maps are not to scale. Discovering 1-1, the robot whose optimism and apathy makes for witty and barbed contrast with our protag's driven, yet understandably coarse demeanour, they venture forward much like us, the viewer, unaware of what lies before them. And while the car they found themselves in offered up something nice to take the pressure off, the world the train inhabits inside and out showed its perilous hands devilishly, and leaves things on a very enticing note once both sides meet. Thanks to the amount of time spent setting up this, what we get isn't really that much. Nothing untoward has really occurred, other than giving the viewer a character to root for sympathetically, and understandably so, whilst unfathomable creative prospects at hand show themselves, with minor aspects of humour and calmness to juxtapose the frankly insane elements that are circling them. It awakens you to the understanding that delivering such heavy themes surrounding Tulip and some quite unsettling things that really catch you off guard, it may explain why it was moved off Cartoon Network and onto HBO Max. I'm sure putting a young child in front of an episode that tackles the frayed, sparking wires of a familial breakdown and seeing a person being vaporized and then another subsequently being chased by cockroach hounds doesn't sound like appropriate viewing for the 6 to 12 viewership that Cartoon Network normally aims for. Its cancellation was due to HBO Max and Cartoon Network not thinking that its follow-up seasons were suitable for children. Given what this one episode showcases, maybe Adult Swim would have served as a more appropriate home from the beginning. Then maybe it could have seen its 8-season plan come to fruition. All in all though, this premiere left tantalizing breadcrumbs that I wanted to see more of immediately. Not bad for an 11-minute offering that gave little in the broader scheme of things, but by design was a genius move of an infection vector to where in the age of streaming, the next episode is just a click away. Speaking of which, the beach car slows things down. The introduction of new characters and frantic dilemmas allows for a moral about never leaving friends behind and the importance of teamwork to sprout through where seeds of content were sown between Tulip and 1-1 earlier on in the narrative, allowing its moral spine to do the heavy lifting alongside Kate Janeway of Star Trek fame, nailing the alluring yet cunning cat with impeccable class and underlying sleaze. Its focus on the deal made between her and Tulip alongside the introduction of the Randalls, a collection of naive water beings, was cumbersome in its fluctuation in pacing, dialogue delivery, and unimpressive progression that bogged it down, but its triumphant ending made up for it, as the blunt as attack dialogue finally found its footing after slipping earlier on. It's an episode that proves the plot needs to offer up a lot more to retain this specific viewer's interest, but has at least given something to look forward to if the cat ever returns, which is something, I guess. That being said, did you really need to throw seeds of annoyance between Tulip and 1-1 on the second episode? Yes, I know his personality chips are irritating, but come on. If you'd thrown this in maybe in the 5th or 6th episode after they've been through a few things, then I can kind of understand, but it's a little too soon. That's just my opinion. And while it served its purpose in making the episode all round have something to work with, I feel like it kind of wore it down when factored in with everything else. Third episode, the Corgi car had a chance to really push things back onto even keel. And as you'd probably expect with the title, it reunited Tulip with the dogs of Corginia from the pilot. Huzzah! However, that sense of happiness, whilst plentiful, was neutered upon realising this episode is basically a shot-for-shot recreation of said pilot, even down to the script and reused voice lines, with a few visual and continuity differences to account for the change in the first act car shenanigans.
Hi, I'm Tulip. I like books?
Welcome, Tulip the Literate.
Hi, I'm Tulip. I like books?
Greetings, Tulip the Literate.
Didn't you want to go outside?
Yes.
Outside?
No.
Outside?
Well,
Outside?
maybe.
Come on.
Well,
Want to go outside right now?
No.
You want to do it? You want to go outside?
Yes, I want to go outside.
Didn't you want to go outside?
Yes.
Outside?
No.
Outside?
Well,
Outside?
maybe.
Come on.
Well,
Want to go outside right now?
No.
You want to do it? You want to go outside?
Yes, I want to go outside.
Correlation isn't causation. I know that. Oh, I want some answers for the first clue I've gotten this whole time. No, not allowed. Correlation isn't causation. I know that. Oh, I want some answers for the first clue I've gotten this whole time. No, not allowed.
And while that is depressing to an extent, it was still as entertaining, fun, and exciting as it was back in 2016. All with some more creative randomness through the cars we see minor glimpses of prior to it. Proof, if anything, that the characterization, the script, the world building and progression of this story in particular is still as watertight after 6 long years and stands up as an example of what you would want, at least in my opinion, from this show. I'm not sure which one is better because some things look better, some things are delivered better on both. So I guess the tiebreaker is down to aesthetics, as we see another thing to get curious about, in that wire monster thing with a face. And with Corginia King Atticus's joining of the group, it adds another comedic slice to the pie, which, given the fact that I was already getting tired of 1-1 shtick, is a good thing, because it then allows more for Tulip to rub off of and ensure that with all the stress, all the action, all the tension, we at least have more respite delivered in different ways that can hopefully make me and many others laugh their arse off in the process, proving that this show really does have a lot to offer, which when you compare that to what the first episode offered up in its incredible severity is a massive positive. The final episode of this selection, The Crystal Car, does a solid job of trying to correlate all that had occurred prior and establish the continuity that it would venture forward with now that Tulip has regained some focus, even dropping us in media res to a car where they'd already stopped and resolved something. Neat! Although a beautiful location and a mute stranger offered up laughs aplenty, from Atticus's long story of fabled canine heroes and Tulip's ultra-mega cringe rendition of Cameo's 80s one-hit wonder Word Up, making this episode feel substantial even if, much like the first episode, didn't have a lot going on, and if it seemed to fall back on a predictable formula that its narrative construction established in the prior episodes. They enter a new car and world, interact with it, and discover an obstacle stopping them from getting to the door. They try before Tulip gets frustrated, only for a tidy little moral expenditure to be spouted in order for her to see the errors of her over-analytical brain and find the solution, moving forward to the next car. For a series as expansive potentially as this, to have it rely on something underwhelmingly pedestrian nearly halfway into its first season is frustrating, but it doesn't take anything away from what all is contained around it. The fantastic voice acting, the muted yet beautiful visuals, the haunting synth soundtrack, and fun, intriguing characters reciting a script that 95% of the time hits what it needs to do in retaining its balance tonally. Given what it has already supplied, I can forgive it, because Infinity Train is a lot more complex than it lets itself on to be from its initial impression. So after all that, would I recommend Infinity Train? Yes, it is great, but it comes with one subjective caveat. When all is said and done, I have no doubts of Infinity Train's objective qualities. It's an engrossing, consistent, and mysterious piece of animation that in just 4 episodes was able to do so much with so little. It's no wonder that myself, and understandably many others, asked for more and were drip-fed menial amounts that made subsequent episodes enticing enough to warrant that further investment. It treats the subject of its title with utmost creativity and respect, and contains emotional maturity within that few Western animated shows can boast, tying itself up in an audio-visually pleasing, yet rarely excessive bow to make it feel indelible, predominantly because the majority of those elements were passive, in the background, ensuring that the main function of the episodes and the show as a whole was maintained and motored through to where, honestly, I couldn't think of much bad to say about it, so when I did, I felt like I was pulling at straws. That is the noted caveat, however, and is the only limit that really matters, and that's what you seek to gain from this show. In its most surprising, intense, and fully realised moments, Infinity Train spoke loudly, and I basked in hearing what it had to say. But when it slowed down, is indecisive with structural pace without clear direction, and tries to inject some more upbeat characteristics too forcefully, its seemingly unflappable demeanour comes under some scrutiny, to where I'm apprehensive. To you, those lighter moments, fluctuating speed, and flashes of weird quirkiness will hit harder and appeal better. But the fact that they are so minimal in terms of negatives that impact the entire show, I couldn't think too badly of them when I know going forward they won't be as painfully apparent in such a noticeable way, because I know that this show has the confidence and the knowledge of what it can do to move forward in spite of that. All in all, what I'm trying to say is that Infinity Train lived up to and exceeded those really high expectations. And that's all I could ask from it. But doing it in ways that took me aback and made me realise just how good it is, that's just a bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you can find it, watch Infinity Train, because I guarantee you are not going to be disappointed. Because if you are, maybe you need to readjust your standards just a little bit. I've been Freddie Thomas, you've been people watching, this is the CC Network, and I'll see you all next time. And yes, for those who were wondering, I did batch record all 4 of these So I Just Watched videos that have come out in a row, because I'm not changing a shirt for continuity purposes. What the hell is the point?